right, and we'll get started. So first off, thank you so much, Jenn, for taking the time to talk to our team and really share your story. And I know that we'll get a lot from it. So I just wanted to introduce her. She is a friend. She's an inspiration. She's 15-star diamond. She's elite by how many times elite? You've been elite. 2-time elite coach. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to her because I know everything she says is going to be golden and y'all want to hear it. No pressure.
All right. Thank you so much for having me on. Seriously, I'm so excited to talk to you guys. It's always kind of fun to share my story because it's so different than I feel like a lot of other coaches in the business, because I don't have that story that talks about we needed the money really bad. Our family was in financial hardship. We hear about that a lot. And for me, it was a very internal, personal thing where I felt very lost and very sad, and just it wasn't a good place in my life. So let me start with that. 2013 is when I signed up to coach, and I was 2.5 months postpartum with my second son. And whether it is postpartum anxiety or whatever it was definitely a rough time. And I was about 45, 50 pounds over what I had started with before I got pregnant. And miraculously, I didn't lose the weight when I had him. So, but anyway, so I was just kind of in this really weird funk. I had gone to school to be a criminal justice professor. That was what I wanted to do. I went and got my master's, and that was my life plan. But God had other plans for me because I didn't get a job, and actually nobody even called me back for an interview. So looking back now, that was, in my belief, God's way of telling me that's not the path He wants me on, and there's something else. So as far as fitness is concerned, I was one of the least fitness type people you'd ever meet. I had started gyms 3 or 4 times. I went once, I quit. I just couldn't get myself to commit to that. And I also like to eat cake and pizza and cookies, and I was a big soda drinker. So I was kind of one of those people that looked at those fit girls and I was like, nope, don't want that to be me. I have no desire at all. But being 50 pounds over where I started, I was super uncomfortable every time I got dressed. I'm sure we all in some stage of our life have felt that feeling when we got ready in the morning and we just didn't feel good. And whether someone else tells you you're beautiful, my husband would be like, you're beautiful, I don't know what you're talking about. It didn't matter, because we feel it. And so that's kind of where I was at. And I started doing Jillian Michaels' 30-day shred, which was miserable and I hated it. And that's kind of along the same time that, that's kind of along the same time that Stephanie Chico, who's my coach, she reached out to me, but not in a typical recruiting way, which is kind of what shapes my belief system on how we recruit coaches, and kind of what I'm going to share with you guys a little bit later. I had no idea she was recruiting me. None. She was always commenting on my posts, you're rocking it, Jenn, you're doing amazing. She didn't care that I wasn't doing a Beachbody program. She didn't care I wasn't drinking Shakeology. She saw a girl that was trying to better herself, and she wanted to be there to be my friend. And that's pretty powerful, because I think a lot of times in our business, we lose sight of that, and we lose sight of we're doing this to help somebody, and we're doing this to inspire someone. And sometimes we get wrapped up, I need success club points, and I need to rank advance, and this, that, and the other. We forget. So it kind of dials me back, because that's why I connected with her in the first place. She's like, got this challenge group, I want you to be part of it, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, sure. She sent me some Shakeology samples. I liked them. Another thing, I know sometimes we're in a place where we don't want to spend money when we're not making much money, but the fact that she sent me those samples could have been a game changer for me, because I only had 2, and I fell in love with Shakeology after those 2 samples. So sometimes at $10, you guys invest in someone that you believe could be an amazing coach. Invest that $10, because it could be a huge payoff for you. So anyway, I was like, yes, love the Shakeology. $130 is kind of scary. Being a discount coach sounds really awesome because I'm going to save some money. So I signed up as a discount coach and had really no intention of really working this business at all. I'm sorry, people just keep calling me. Don't they know that I'm doing something? So I had no intention of working the business, but I knew that I really needed this kind of accountability. So I started doing her challenge groups, and I started posting on social media what I was doing. So for you guys watching this that are in a stage of your journey where you're like, I don't feel confident enough to like actively work this business right now. I don't think I know enough to like host a challenge group or whatever. Just share. Just put it out there. If it's like a silly fitness selfie, if it's talking about a recipe you made that your family loved, whatever it is, just put it out there. So that's what I did. I didn't host groups. I didn't actively try to recruit. I just shared. And, I look back at those early posts and I'm kind of like, wow, those were kind of a little rough. But you guys, it's evolution of your business. Don't feel like a post that you make now has to be perfect, because it certainly doesn't at all. You're putting a message out there, and as long as it's genuine and you're putting it out there with like a real sense of passion and thoughtfulness, people are going to relate to that. So I actually went diamond in 90 days, okay? But they were all discount coaches. So I was making about $20 a week as a diamond. So just because you go diamond does not mean you make a bunch of money all of a sudden. So my first year, I was what I like to call a discount diamond. All of the girls under me, basically, they signed up to get the discount. I was in a mommy's group. So if any of y'all are moms, you can never underestimate the power of a mom group. And I kind of just shared in that group what I was doing, and it kind of just spiraled from there, just from sharing. And so it kind of was like this evolution throughout that year of me not sure where I was going. So like I said to you guys when I started, I couldn't get a job teaching. So my dad graciously hired me to work for his company. So I was doing that, and it was a job and it was a paycheck, but it was not fulfilling. It was not empowering for me. I felt like there's got to be more out of life than this for me. I had just these big dreams. Don't we all like have these dreams for what our life's going to look like? And then when you sit back and you look at it and you're like, is this really what life was supposed to end up being? And then I kept like looking at coaching, like I'm watching Steph Chico and I'm watching Brandy Botts, and I'm like, those are my uplines. I'm like, they're so happy. And here I am, frustrated, sad, in a rough place in my marriage because I was unhappy. And I think we all know if we're not happy, we can't be a happy partner in a relationship. But you know what, guys? It was letting other people into my head that was holding me back. It was people like, you went to college, like you got a degree. What are you going to do? This MLM pyramid scheme thing? Like, is that what you went to school for? And I let them in. Like, I let those voices into my head. Or the people that I would post a picture and they'd be like, oh, there goes Jen again, posting that fitness picture, And I would just let them into my head and like distract me from what I really wanted to do. And then it kind of all boiled down. This is the end of 2013 now. So I spent that whole year, guys, just being a discount diamond, doing my own thing, trying to find something that made me happy. And my husband and I were driving home from a New Year's Eve party. And I was like, listen, let me back up and say that my husband was completely unsupportive of Beachbody. Like, so unsupportive. So I was like, listen, babe, like I need to try this because I am just not happy right now. And I know you're not happy. Something has to change. Something has to change here. And I'm like, give me 3 months to show you that I can make this work. But I need you to be all in. Like, I need you to support me. And he looked at me, he's like, all right. Okay. And I don't know if you guys have unsupportive spouses or family members or people that have kind of like judged your journey or your decision to be a coach. But my best advice to you is to sit down with them and just say, listen, give me X amount of time. Okay. And I'm going to give it all I have and I need your support. And if it doesn't work out, I'll quit. Like, easy as that. I'll let it go. But I need your support in 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, that time you give yourself to really make this work. So January 2014, I talked to my 15 coaches in my entire downline that I had. And I was like, guys, let's flip the switch here. Okay. Like, we look around at all these amazing coaches. They're so inspiring. Like, why are we not doing something? Like, we're all sitting here drinking our Shakeology and sharing about it, but why aren't we doing something? And so shockingly, guys, all of those coaches that I had were like, yes, okay, let's do it. And so that proved to me at that point that it only takes one person to say, let's do this, and you can really get a group of people inspired and get going. And so that's what kind of happened. And, you know, that first month I set up like 3 different challenge groups. 2 of them were free. One of them was like a paid group. And I mean, within those 3 months, I went from making like the $20 a week. And by the end of month 3, I was making $1,000 a week. So that's like a huge shift. Now, how did I do that? Because that's like the main thing everyone asks me. How did you go from $20 to $1,000 a week? And I'll tell you guys, and something, if you were at Summit, Melanie did this speech and she was talking about how there's nothing special about her. There's no story. There's nothing different about her. What's different is her desire to work 10 times harder than the girl next door. And that's kind of what it was for me. I had 2 babies. Like, they weren't in school. They were home all day. Neither of them napped. Like, they anti-nap. I don't know why. I can't understand it. But they, you know, so I had those struggles and I had those excuses that so many of us have. But what did I do? I said, you know what? I know I need to add 100 people a day. Yeah, a day to my social media network. That's something I knew I had to do. I only have like 400 followers on Instagram. And if you've got 400 followers on Instagram, what are the chances of all 400 seeing one of your posts? And what are the chances of those people being interested in what you're doing? So you have to widen that net. You have to really widen that net in order to get one person interested. So I was adding 700 people a week for about 3 months. So my followers went up. And guys, that's not easy, okay? I'm not telling you that that's easy. I'm not telling you that you should do that, but I'm telling you that's what I did. And you're not going to have to do that indefinitely either. Give yourself a certain amount of time where you're like, I'm going to sacrifice the next month, the next 2 months, okay? And I'm going to work harder so that in the next months to come, I can take a step back and work a little bit easier, you know? So that's what I did. And that was like the big basis of it. For me, Instagram has always been my thing. And I think for me, that stems from being afraid of my warm market that was so unsupportive. And I just felt more comfortable on Instagram because those people didn't really know me. Those were internet friends and they weren't going to judge me because they didn't know me, you know? And then over time, you're going to get more comfortable with another form of social media. And I ended up going back to Facebook, of course, but Instagram is really where I built. So if you guys are struggling on Facebook, Instagram is a great alternative, and vice versa. If you know you're not doing great on Instagram, focus on Facebook. But anyway, so that's what I did, and I was adding and I was running so many free groups. To this day, guys, I still believe free groups are where it's at. Because what's the difference between you and the other 400,000 coaches in our network? Like, what's the difference? What are you offering different? And that's what I had to ask myself. And this is 2 years ago, so there's even less coaches. Now there's more. So I'm always trying to be inventive on like, what can I offer different than all these other coaches that are, you know, doing the same thing in free groups, okay? It's hard for someone to commit to fitness. It's so much easier for them to sell you makeup, some mascara, or a pair of leggings, because that doesn't take any dedication to put on a pair of leggings in the morning, but it takes that dedication to say, I'm not going to eat the chips and I'm not going to drink the soda. So what I like to do, what I do now, is I run one personal development centered free group a month. Now, why do I do that? Number one, I was the biggest disbeliever of personal development. I totally thought those self-help sections were like for people that have like problems. And I totally did not think that I had a problem. I mean, I probably did have a problem, but anyway, so I feel like that is the cornerstone of us being the best version of ourselves, is learning new things about ourselves daily. Now, in Beachbody, we hear about PD all the time. But these people outside of our company, they don't. So they might have that same perception of personal development as I did, was that, oh, that's for people like suffering through a divorce or grieving over a lost parent. But that's not what it is. And we know that. And I want them to know that. So what I do is I run a personal development centered group. Right now we're doing the Happiness Project, and it's so amazing. And then these people come out of these personal development groups and they're happy. They're feeling good and inspired about themselves. And that's when you run a free fitness group right after that, because then they're already feeling good and they're empowered and they're excited, right? So then you're like, okay, well, you're feeling good. So how you want to feel even better? Why don't you do my free clean eating group that I'm doing next week? I've got a meal plan, I've got fitness challenges, whatever, right? So then I get them in that. Okay, so now these people that I've rolled into these groups are feeling fantastic after those 2 free groups. That's when I announce, like, well, right now I just announced the health bet. Guys, like in one thread, I had like 70 people say, yes, like I want to be part of that. I need to like do this. And I have done so many failed groups, guys. I have failed the heck out of so many groups. But this kind of formula for groups has helped so much in building this wide net of people. Something I hear a lot when my coaches are trying to use Instagram, trying to use social media to find people to add to these groups, they say like, okay, well, I'm getting all these Beachbody coaches that are following my posts and they want to join my group, or, you know, It Works, Herbalife, whatever. We see all the other MLMs. So what I say to them is, number one, what are you posting? Are you posting fitness posts all the time? Because if you're posting fitness posts all the time, who are you going to attract? Because you're probably not going to attract, you know, the stay-at-home mom whose life is centered around reading books to her kids and taking them to the park, right? So I like to say be very centered on the other things outside of the fitness. And I say 80-20, but I'm almost a 90-10. I try to post 4 times a day on Instagram. One of them is fitness or Beachbody related, and the other 3 are something else. And you guys already probably have heard this, and you've heard it again and again, but try to think of 5 things about you that are not Beachbody, and these will be ever changing. And so for me, one of my big niche markets is Florida. That's where I live. So I do a lot of Florida-centered hashtags, beach-related things. We go kayaking, whatever, okay? So those are things I hone in on that have nothing to do with Beachbody. And I hashtag them in every post. So in every post I make, I have 20 hashtags. And none of them are fitness related, but they're all related to me. Because attraction marketing, right? We're trying to attract people to us because of who we are and not because we are fitness coaches, right? Because they're going to be attracted to your fitness post because they already liked you about something else. So my best advice to you on social media is to share the other more than you share the fitness, and you'll see a big turnaround. You know, if you're posting a lot of hashtags like Fit Life or InstaFit or Fit Mom or whatever, you're going to attract other Beachbody coaches because they're using the same hashtag as you are. But it's less likely that they would be hashtagging like, you know, paddleboarding or kayaking, just something else. And then, you know, I've had my coaches tell me, and I don't know if you guys are thinking it right now, but I hear a lot, well, I'm not interesting. Like, I don't have anything interesting about me. Like, nobody wants to hear about what I do. One of my coaches, we just had this call the other day, and she's like, I'm a Lyft driver. I don't know if you guys know what Lyft is. It's like Uber. But she's like, I'm a Lyft driver. And then I'm a mom. So like I do that. I'm like, girl, you're a Lyft driver? Like, how cool is that? I would follow you. You could post about like the interesting people that come in and out of your car. I'm sure you got stories, girl. And she's like, yeah, I do kind of got stories. So like, you might not think what you're doing is interesting, but to someone not doing it, it could be really interesting. So think outside of the box of what you like and what you do and how you can share that in a way that would attract people to you, so that when you do put those call to actions out there, people are interested. And then my other tip, and this is something, so Brittany Powers, she's one of the top 10 coaches. She's one of my success partners. And she was like, I was saying to her, oh my gosh, I've had such slow recruiting months these past couple months. How do you do it? I'm like, how do you do this? She's recruiting like 30 new coaches a month. And she's like, well, how many call to actions are you doing a week, Jen? And I'm like, well, I don't know, 1, maybe. And she's like, oh my gosh, well, I'm doing 4. I'm like, whoa, 4 call to actions a week. That's nuts. And she's like, yeah, but they're about different things. And that kind of makes sense, right? So you're not doing 4 call to actions about a glimpse into coaching group. Maybe that's one. And maybe another one's about your free fitness group. And then maybe, another one's about that personal development group. But they're all different. And you can switch up the way you do them. So she'll say maybe one of those call to actions is something really emotional, where you're tugging on the heartstrings of people and you're sharing your story and you're saying, why you got to this point and what led up to it. And then another one might be funny. Maybe it's you dancing around your living room doing country heat. They all can be different, but you have to be putting it out there and not expecting people to just know what you want them to do when you post something. So that was like really great advice that she gave me as far as that kind of like attraction. But yeah, that's kind of like my journey. And I think the biggest thing, and from my 2013 self to my now self, is just eliminating those people out of my head and saying, look, these people, maybe they're unhappy. Maybe they're naysayers because they're not happy with themselves. I was a naysayer, so maybe that's the same for them. Maybe they just don't understand it, and that's okay. But you can't base your life decisions off of someone else's feelings about what you're doing. You know what I mean? I put this post up the other day where I was like, all right, posting another fitness selfie. I can feel the eyes rolling through your computer screens. But you know what, guys? There are going to be people that roll their eyes when we post our fitness pictures. But if there's just one person that decides to start their fitness journey because of that picture you posted, it's worth it. So I think you just need to remind yourself that every single day and push out of your head what other people might be saying about what you're doing. But that's my story.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I know like all the numbers really help too, like knowing like, all right, 3 months or 6 months and how many people you were adding, because so many people can go, oh, well, she just shot up out of nowhere. So I think it's really neat to see like the fact that you worked a whole year and then what you did to change and like that it took so much hard work.
Right. But then you guys can step back and you don't have to do that. I mean, now I probably add 10 a day.
Yeah.
So when you get to a certain point where you feel like you've made progress and you've created this network, then you can kind of slow it back. But there is that point in time where you have to tell yourself, I need to work 10 times harder than the person next to me.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Somebody asked about the personal development that you run. The Happiness Project is a book, correct?
Yes. Gretchen Rubin wrote the book, and she's so clever because it's like she knew that there was going to be Beachbody coaches that wanted to run groups for her. So she actually created this download. I can send it to you and you can post it in your team page.
Yeah. That would be
but she posted kind of like this PDF of how to run a Happiness Project group. And hers is focused on an actual in-person group. Mm-hmm. So what I did is I kind of tweaked it to make it for, a Facebook group. And yeah, it really like lets people dive into like, why might they be unhappy and how these are such small things. And she focuses on, maybe you're not unhappy, but maybe you could be happier, because we all could be happier. Right. So it's pretty cool.
That sounds really cool. Well, thank you for offering us the PDF too. Yeah. I know it'll be helpful.
For sure.
We have like 4 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions that y'all want to ask? I think everybody's muted, so if you have one, just unmute yourself.
No question, but I think you're awesome. I love following you on Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
How did you add so many people, and where did you add them to?
So it was all on Instagram, and what I did was I picked like 20, it was probably like 15 different hashtags at the time, and they all at the time were related to like being like a mom to like an infant. So I was breastfeeding. I'm like a natural crunchy mom, so like we did a lot of like essential oils and so that kind of thing. So I was able to connect with these women that was this very like different kind of market. Of course, now like my children are 3 and 5, so I can no longer like connect with those moms. I'm not breastfeeding anymore. So now I'm focusing more on kind of me and less the mom connection. So I like to do like DIY projects. They're not always good. This one behind me was one. But I post about that and I try to attract people that way. I like to do like outdoor stuff. So, but really it's picking hashtags, and I switch them out every 2 or 3 months. And then I go through the hashtag, I click on it, and I scroll through all those people that use the same hashtag, click on their profile. And now it's something with our brains, but within like the first 20 seconds of seeing someone, we can decide if we connect with them. Like it's not good or bad or whatever, but it's just like within that small period of time. So I go with my immediate reaction of that person. Did we connect? And then I follow them. And what I do for tracking is I use a Google Sheet, and it's really basic. It just has name, Instagram name, the date I followed them, and then notes. And in the notes section, I'll put like why I followed them. Like, maybe they're from Orlando, which is close to where I live, or whatever it is. But I track them. I track them that way. Now, when I was adding like the 100 people, it was really hard to track that many at one time. So you don't necessarily have to track all of the people you're following. Maybe just track the ones that you would love to be on your dream team list, like a potential coach, or someone that you really think would rock a challenge group. And then the rest of the people you're adding because attraction marketing, and let them follow you. Let them decide if they want to follow what you're doing, and then they can always reach out. So did that help? Did I answer it? Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, I guess we can wrap up now. Again, thank you so much for being on our call. I know it helped a lot. And if once I have that PDF, I'll post it in Sweat Nation, so no worries. And I'll also make sure this is recorded so that way it's up in Sweat Nation for y'all after this and your team. So thank you again. We really appreciate it.